I didn't grow up in a particularly religious household, but my experience in Chicago showed me how faith and values could be an anchor in my life and an anchor in the community. In time, I came to see my faith as being both a personal commitment to Christ and a commitment to my community. That while I could sit in church and pray all I want, I wouldn't be fulfilling God's will unless I went out and did the Lord's work. There are millions of Americans who share a similar view of their faith, who feel they have an obligation to help others. And they're making a difference in communities all across this country through initiatives like Ready for Work, which is helping ensure that ex-offenders don't return to a life of crime, or Catholic Charities, which is feeding the hungry and making sure we don't have homeless veterans sleeping on the streets of cities like Chicago, or the good work that's being done by a coalition of religious groups to rebuild New Orleans. You see, while these groups are often made up of people who come together around a common faith, they're usually working to help people of all faiths or of no faith at all. And they're particularly well placed to offer help. As I've said many times, I believe that change comes not from the top down, but from the bottom up. And few are closer to the people than our churches, our synagogues, our temples, and our mosques. I know there are some who bristle at the notion that faith has a place in the public square. But the fact is, leaders in both parties have recognized the value of a partnership between the White House and faith-based groups. President Clinton signed legislation that opened the door for faith-based groups to play a role in a number of areas, including helping people move from welfare to work. Al Gore proposed a partnership between Washington and faith-based groups to provide more support for the least of these. And President Bush came into office with a promise to rally the armies of compassion, establishing a new Office of Faith-Based and Community Initiatives. Well, I still believe that it's a good idea to have a partnership between the White House and grassroots groups, both faith-based and secular, but it has to be a real partnership, not a photo op. And that's what it will be when I'm president. I'll establish a new Council for Faith-Based and Neighborhood Partnerships. The new name will reflect a new commitment. This council will not just be another name on the White House organizational chart, it will be a critical part of my administration. Make no mistake, as someone who used to teach constitutional law, I believe deeply in separation of church and state, but I don't believe this partnership will endanger that idea so long as we follow a few basic principles. First, if you get a federal grant, you can't use that grant money to proselytize to the people you help, and you can't discriminate against them or against the people you hire on the basis of their religion. Second, federal dollars that go directly to churches, temples, and mosques can only be used on secular programs. And we'll also ensure that taxpayer dollars only go to those programs that actually work.